podcast called Jellison Podcast.
First ever type 1 diabetic in UFC history.
Doing fine. Nice to be with you.
Get out! He's like, yeah.
My tunnel vision and my periphery, I'm like off field.
Hey, you know how it is, though. Hey, when your team.
I don't remember that. That's crazy.
What's up, everybody? We're back with another episode of the Jellison Podcast. A very special guest, Rashad James. Rashad, how are you?
Doing well, Dub. How about yourself?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you so much for coming on. So how are things treating you out in Cali? Like, what are you up to?
I'm on the West Coast. I'm in Vegas, man. It's a desert out here, man. It's super hot. But you know what? Yeah, man. Like literally on average, it'd be like 108, like by 10 o'clock. It's nuts.
It's like when I'm walking to class, it's like 90 or like 85, and I'm cooking. I can't living out there. I've never been out there though. Yeah,
the one thing about Vegas, man, is no humidity, so it makes it a little bit bearable. I've been living out here for 4 years now, so I got a little bit used to like the dry heat. Mm-hmm. I know when I first got out here, when I was playing a bunch of summer leagues, I would take a walk on the strip, bro, in a shirt, and then I'll get back to go after getting some food, and I'm drenched. But yeah, now my body's like is used to it, and it's nice vibes out here for sure.
I don't know. I always have that problem though. Like because in Indiana, it's always humid and muggy and nasty. I'm always sweating. I'm always dripping. It's ridiculous. So I can't even imagine living out there. That'd be terrible for me. But I didn't, when I was doing like my prep and research for this podcast, I didn't see where you were signing to play next year. Have you had that decided yet? Or are you training right now, waiting for an opportunity, or what's that all about?
Yeah. So still, I'm still a free agent at the moment. My agent has run a couple of things by me as far as teams, and I'm just being patient and enjoying the family time as I can until having to lock back in for that 10-month strength overseas. 10-month strength. It's a long time, man, and hopefully baby girl and my wife will be able to travel with me.
Mm-hmm. And I've had a lot of guys on that have played overseas, and very few of them have had like actual family, like they have a girlfriend or a wife, but they don't have children. How hard is that for you to be away from your daughter?
So this past season when I was in Italy for about the first half of the season up until February, she was with me. So my wife and my daughter was with me. And considering that we were in quarantine, it didn't really make it that hard, so it was literally gym, back to the apartment, going to the park every now and then for baby girl to get some fresh air, and then grocery store. So those were my three hot spots for the year. And wifey, she does a great job with baby girl when I'm at practice or on the road with games. So really not that hard, man. It's been a pleasure having them like overseas with me. I love it. That is special. I'm surprised that they were overseas with you because like I mentioned, a lot of guys that I've talked to, they can't really bring their families over there, which is really hard on them. But I like how you call your daughter baby girl, because I've been watching Bernie Mac a lot, and he always says that to his niece in the show, and it makes me laugh. Nah, yeah, for sure, man. It's like them little cute baby names that you just come off the top of the head. Mm-hmm. Fatherhood it just kicks in. Mm-hmm. I mean, did you have a shift in your mentality at all? Like, aside, put basketball away, just like your perspective of life when you became a father? Yeah, it's it was a new appreciation for my wife because she's vegan, and she did a home birth, so it was all natural. So we literally, I'm on the second floor of my crib, and the bathroom, one of the guest bathrooms, her water burst, and then we had to just use that bathroom. So we had it planned out. They had, the midwives, they had the whole, bathing tub and stuff like that. But it was one of those situations where, she got to it in the tub. And once that happened, like me being able to catch my daughter literally just fresh out, it was like my emotions were all over the place. So I didn't know whether to cry, be happy, whatever, man. For me, it was just like, as long as I found out that, she was healthy, and she came out not crying because she was so calm. And me and wifey were actually at a point where we were just like, yo, is she okay? because and you see movies or shows where like, the baby comes out immediately crying, but that's 80% the time of when you're in a hospital, it's a different situation. They kind of take the baby away from the mother immediately to check the vitals and such. But I guess because we were home, and she was already connected to wifey, she was already calm. But yeah, man, I just have this view of I was going hard before them, like before I met my wife, before having a baby, I was going hard as far as this basketball thing. Now it just makes me go a million times harder.
And I mean, when you guys had that home birth, if you're comfortable answering, were there any like doctors there, or was it just like you two?
No, so we had the midwives, and then her doula, and so it was two midwives and a doula, and then her mother and myself. I may have gotten the correct, but yeah, so it was us. So yeah, they were coaching her every step of the way. I was there trying to do as much as I could to help. It's one of those happy, stressful moments, man, because you see your wife in a situation where she's in like the most pain like ever, and then you just want to be able to comfort her, help her, or whatever the case is, and it's not typically always the case, but I was just happy that everything was good with the birth.
I mean, that's super special. I mean, I want to get into you've had an awesome year just from a fan's perspective, all the things that you've done. But I just want to talk about like this kind of like downtime to off time where you're training. How needed was that for you?
Man, it's I mean, I don't even think outside of my wife, I don't think anybody knows what I'm about to tell you. Just like that like your mentals are so important. I mean, the way that I was put up to basketball, I grew up in New York, so everything, New York gritty, you got to have that dog eat dog mentality, and that's what I typically I use that energy throughout life, throughout the game of basketball. But during this pandemic year, past season, it was really hard on me because the fact that we really like to go out, museums, eating, and such, but all of that was on hold, and yeah, it kind of affected me in the standpoint of just my mentals, man, and I needed to find my peace again. And basketball at a point was almost becoming too like work, and it's just like it's ridiculous. This is a game.
Yeah.
So I had to take a couple steps back, and with this whole thing happening now, me being in the off season and still training, I think I got just clarity, and I really needed that to come back down to earth. So now I'm smooth sailing.
Well, first of all, I really appreciate you opening up like that. I think it's really important for athletes like you and people that younger people look up to and have a platform to kind of share your personal battles if you have them.
Right, exactly, for sure.
And then as far as the training, what's that looking like right now to keep yourself in basketball shape?
Well, I mean, I always go 1,000%. Either I'm with a trainer or I'm by myself. I take great pride in just trying to mix it up with my workouts. A lot of my friends, they typically laugh at me about some of the workouts that I do. They're unorthodox. It's basketball is very reactive, so I try not to find myself doing too much of the stagnant movements and stuff like that. I was just in Sacramento about a week ago training with one of my trainers. I got some good work in. His name is Gus Armstead. Got some good work in with him. I got another trainer here as far as from the fitness standpoint. His name is Tyler. Does a great job out here in Vegas. So I try to jump between those two, and then if not, when I'm just by myself, just get it in by myself, and I'm in great shape right now.
And I mean, you talked about your friends kind of making fun of you. Are you doing like those crazy ass James Harrison workouts and stuff?
I wouldn't go to that extent. But I try to keep it fresh. I don't not to say that I get bored when I work out, but if I'm doing something new, it'll just keep me engaged more, and it triggers different parts of my body so that they aren't getting used to just the same movement and stuff like that.
Fair enough. I mean, I've never really asked this of anyone, but do you think there's a difference between being in shape, like for you specifically, being in shape and then being in basketball shape? Is that two different things, or is it kind of the same thing?
No, they're definitely different, and just from the conditioning standpoint. So, I mean, I feel like I'm in great shape right now. Like for me, I can get on a plane and I'm ready to hoop. Like that's just how I train. But just to talk about the differences, yeah, I could be in good fitness shape. I could look good, like physically. But then when it comes down to that cardio, because basketball is so ping pong, it's a different monster, and it's continuous. So you're in practice, you're either going for an hour and a half to 2 hours, and it's continuous. Like minimum water breaks, continual. If you're doing 2 a days, and that's another stressor on your body. So yeah, there's definitely I would say a little bit of a difference there when it comes down to being in shape and then in season mode shape.
Where do you think that you got that? I mean, you probably know the answer, but where did you get that kind of hunger to just train all out the way you do? That's kind of different from a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, it's come across from different people that I've been able to either see from, like, you know, the LeBrons, like the Damian Lillards. So like those type of guys, like their approach to the game, and not to say about anybody else that I haven't mentioned, but their approach to the game is just so genuine and so real, that me on the outside as one of these guys that always been kind of viewed as the underdog just puts another battery in my back. The way I started playing basketball was I didn't really start taking it seriously till about my freshman year of high school. And a lot of people kind of take that as a surprise when they hear that for me as far as my development. But I give a lot of credit to my high school coach. He really bust our butts on the come up, man. He had one of those mentalities of like, if you're going to do this, you're going to have to put the pain in. And there's going to be those times where you don't want to be here, don't want to like see his face and whatever the case is. But I think as far as that mental toughness, he really put that, you know, that seed in my head to carry it on for the rest of my life. So that's one of the reasons why I really be going 1,000% whenever I train.
I mean, you called yourself an underdog there. I mean, in my opinion, those are the scariest people in sports because they ain't afraid of nothing.
Nah, not even close. I mean, for me, it's just, I mean, a lot of people could look at being an underdog as a negative. I know I have my moments as a human where it's just like, oh my goodness, I'm still an underdog, man. I done got at a lot of these boys on the court. But for me, it's just, yeah, it's just another fuel to the fire. I like it. I take everything that should be negative and I try to form it to a positive that could, you know, help boost my energy.
Mm-hmm. And how do you think that mindset's helped you throughout your basketball career?
It's been cool, man, because, you know, this basketball business is, you know, it's up and down. A lot of people may not know. It doesn't matter, like, from the highest level to wherever you're at with this basketball thing. It's ups and downs. And there are moments where you're either sitting on your butt, you don't know what you're going to do, what's the next step because of a virus or whatever the case is. And you got to wake up every morning with the purest mindset, the purest focus to get after it. Because if you don't, at the end of the day, there's the next man going to try to, you know, take your spot.
100%. I mean, I was introduced to you. I think I remember seeing you on like Sports Center and stuff like that with your crazy dunks when you're in the G League. But then I was like reminded of you when you signed with Minamaki. I'm a Boilermaker fan. So how did that kind of come together, playing the TBT with them?
Honestly, it was kind of random. So I think I was supposed to originally play with the Eberline Drive team. Matt, I can't remember his last name. I'm pretty sure he was the GM of the Eberline Drive team. And he had reached out to me. I guess they ended up doing like some merger with another team. So stuff didn't end up working out with me going to that team. And then Matt passed my number along to the Minamaki TBT team. And then, you know, where it worked out like that. So for me, I think it's one of those situations were just like coincidence, and it was a good coincidence because I ended up meeting a great group of guys.
Yeah, what was that experience like? You guys obviously won the first game. I was actually in Columbus for that game, and then I wasn't there for the second game that you guys ultimately.
Well, you were the good luck charm, obviously, because we lost the second game.
No. But I think that one. I know you heard that one dude that was sitting across from you guys, the fan, that ended up getting kicked out.
Honestly, no, I don't. Like, it's kind of wild. It's like the wildest thing for me. When I'm on the court, I rarely hear the fans. Rarely.
Well, this dude was going nuts, and I was talking to Mangus and Lujak after the game, and they said that they could see him because there was like a cop that came up and he was like, oh, it was a mess. This dude was hammered. But I was surprised that, especially the guys, if you were like on the bench or whatever, you didn't see him and weren't paying attention to him because he was loud. He was
No, I didn't. Man. You know, the coronavirus being in quarantine must have got to him, so he was out with some freedom and had one or too many drinks, man, and it was over for him.
It was terrible. But what was that playing in the TBT with some of like Robbie Hummel and Lou Jack and Kelsey Barlow and those guys?
Nah, yeah, man, you guys, those guys are legends out there, man. So it was great to be a part of that energy. The love for the fans. College basketball is so huge. Doesn't matter how many years you're out of basketball. It's like, so I appreciate like, you know, being able to meet those guys and then the crowd's energy when we played that first game. Obviously we weren't able to get it done for the second game, but yeah, if they ever needed me in the past, in the future, I'm more than willing to play again.
Mm-hmm. Hey, I think they'd be happy to have you. GM Ryan K should be calling you up next year too. I'd be surprised if he didn't.
See how it goes, man, for sure.
I mean, what do you think of that that type of format with the tournament? Obviously, you had the game winner in game one for the Elam ending.
I think the whole format as far as the TBT is great. I think it's the fact that, you know, it's summer basketball. It's fun, you know, guys just want to compete. Granted, $1 million, $2 million on the line is going to make you want to compete even harder. So I think it's good. It's good for the summer. It's good for guys trying to stay in shape or use it as a situation as, you know, working on some of their stuff that they want to do for next season. And again, I think it's expanding more and more. So definitely going to have more competition each summer.
Mm-hmm. It's super fun to watch. I mean, how did this year compare to years past? I know you played on Team Fredette.
Yeah.
For 2 years, I believe.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's just it ain't any different. You know, it's basketball to me. So at the end of the day, it's fun. And when you get to be on a team with guys that you know you're familiar with, either heard of or seen from videos or whatever the case is, and then getting the team up with them, it makes it even that much more funner. So definitely a good tournament. And again, excited if it does happen for me to play next summer.
And I mean, it's crazy the year that you've had, because in terms of basketball, that's probably like the lowest rung in terms of your experience. Because next you played, or previous to this, you played in the Basketball Africa League, which is that's super special. I love seeing that league be formed and all that type of stuff. But what was it like to be a part of history and play there?
Man, it was amazing, man. You gotta think Africa, the motherland, is like that right there just put the battery in my back to want to go out there. And then again, you as a basketball player, you always want to be a part of history. Obviously, considering because the coronavirus, we weren't able to do too much outside of the bubble. But the fact that, you know, we was there competing, it was, you know, NBA formatted, so everything was like very professional from head to toe. It was great, man, great atmosphere. And, you know, looking into the future when this coronavirus hopefully blows over, that arena is going to be packed. So it was very strict with how many people could, you know, it was only a handful that could go into the gym while we played. Yeah, that arena is going to be packed. It's a great league, it's physical, and it's one of those type of leagues that you want to be a part of.
Mm-hmm. And what was the kind of the feel and atmosphere? Obviously, with no fans, it's different, but amongst the players and coaches and the people that were actually there.
I mean, you got to try to give yourself energy. It's like, you know, when you're the home or away team, it's like the away team for me. If I'm playing as the away team, I think when somebody's rooting against me, that gives me energy. But then it's like when you're the home team, that gives you just like this euphoric energy of, oh my God, everything is love, blah blah blah. So, you know, we try our best, you know, as teammates to give each other energy, you know, if it's a good play that happens, you know, clapping and stuff like that. All those little things matter when you have no fans.
Yeah, for sure. I was fortunate enough to cover games last year for Purdue in Mackey, which is one of the loudest arenas in the country. And they're like pumping in fake crowd noise, and it was weird. So there's probably 100 people in there, maybe.
Right.
It's just odd.
Yeah, the authenticity when it comes down to like speakers versus actual roars of humans, it's night and day. Night and day.
Yeah, it was a weird thing, but I mean, what do you think about that league going forward? Like, how much do you think that they'll be able to grow in the next 5-10 years if they keep doing it?
Oh, I think they will, man. They got a lot of heavy hitters supporting it, man. Yeah, I just hearing that Barack Obama is one of the supporters of the basketball African League, and I think it's going to continuously get bigger and bigger. There was a number of guys that that are notable that have already played in the inaugural season. So I think it's going to be great. I think you got guys like Joe Kim Noah as well that backs it. Luau Deng, just to mention a few, and it's great, man. Who doesn't want to be in Africa? Who doesn't want to be hooping in basically a new, fresh arena? So I think it's definitely going to allow more imports to want to be a part of it.
Yeah, that's a once in a lifetime opportunity. I don't see how anybody could turn that down, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely.
And then obviously in that league, J. Cole ended up playing a few games in there. I know one of your teammates wasn't too fond of that idea, but did you have any issue with it, or did you like that he was kind of just taking a chance and having fun?
No, man, I think it's love. I mean, at the end of the day, you got a dude that's perfected his craft in his lane as far as rap. And I think rappers and basketball players, they always go hand in hand because we can relate to a lot of the stuff from our lives with each other. So you take a guy like J. Cole that probably had hoop dreams before he was a rapper, and now that he flourished as a rapper, he wanted to take a step into hooping, and I think it's great. I think, if anything, it puts a lens on those people that maybe put their main dream to the side and then had to step in front of doing something else to pursue it. And I'm all for that. I'm all for a big name bringing more light to a situation because that's his light just put more light on everybody else. So, and as a black man, I'm always going to big up my fellow black man. I'm always going to big up my fellow human at the end of the day as well. So I just think it was a great move for him. I mean, I think that he showed out pretty well for somebody that was a rapper to then being a hooper. So definitely I give him a lot of credit.
Yeah, I mean, when you think of rappers that can actually hoop, I mean, it's like him and Quavo and I think Lil Durk. I mean, there's not that many of them. But but for like him to actually show up and play, that's monumental.
Yeah, monumental. It takes guts. It like you basically being that he's the man in his lane, like I alluded to earlier. He comes onto this court knowing that he's playing against guys that are looking at J. Cole as, yo, man, what's this rapper doing here? Maybe like that, or just like, oh, I'm gonna cook J. Cole. Maybe I could get me a highlight.
Yeah.
Or whatever, right? So to put those nerves aside, to put that fear of, yo, maybe if I miss a jump shot, or maybe if I airball, or if I make a turnover, or whatever the case is, and still find himself to put that jersey on and perform the way that he did, like I say, man, more big ups to J. Cole for that. Like, that's love.
I think a lot of people that, I mean, I'm not trying to hate on anyone that didn't really like the idea, but I think a lot of those people, they're just kind of jealous and they're like, well, why is this guy getting that opportunity? We put our work in, but like, I mean, he's, like you said, he created that lane for himself. I mean, that's just, he's going to be able to branch out. He's going to have opportunities. I think it's the same thing with Tim Tebow, because he went and played basketball. He had that big name. He says, I want to play baseball. Someone's going to sign him.
Sure.
Bring in that revenue, whatever the case may be. And then, I mean, it just kind of is what it is. But I do get their perspective of like, hey, he's kind of taking someone's spot that does this for a living. And
yeah, I mean, I get it. But at the same time, if J. Cole was taking the spot of the guy that, you know, quote unquote deserves it, then they would be there, not J. Cole. So that's just the way I look at it. If that guy was good enough to be in that situation where he would have basically took J. Cole's spot, then he would be there. And that's all. That's the only way that I could look at it.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I mean, as of right now, I think soccer is like pretty much the main global sport unanimously. But I mean, basketball is embraced in so many different countries and cultures. Why do you think that is? That they're I mean, they're obviously not to the level soccer is, but they're kind of getting there.
No, they're getting there,
On their
man.
way up.
I just think that they're so passionate. I mean, overseas basketball is so much pride, and you know, if you're somebody that's not used to that type of energy, it could be a little intimidating. Me, I embrace it, but you got over 20,000 people in the arena just making noise the entire game. It's not, you know, there's a timeout just like in the NBA, and then you got to have somebody announce, all right, let's make noise or whatever the case is on the Jumbotron. That's not like that. These people don't need no energy, they don't need no influence from anybody to make it a rowdy environment. And I think that's what makes overseas basketball so great, because there's so much passion to it. Like everybody's connected in some way to the team.
Mm-hmm. And I had on Sam Decker, and he was telling me all these crazy stories about like people throwing like smoke bombs onto the court in like Greece, and I think it was Turkey. Turkey and Greece were the two main ones that he told me. But do you have any stories like that where you've experienced?
Yeah, man, there's a number. I mean, you got the hecklers that are just they come in with their little frog horns or whatever, and they just go crazy if you're shooting or shooting a free throw or whatever. Then there was a situation when I was it was the playoffs. I was with Cedevita at the time, and we was playing against Partizan at Partizan. And again, rowdy environment, one of those moments that you want to be on the court as a basketball player. We was running up and down the court, and I believe they started throwing batteries, started throwing coins, whatever they had or whatever they could get their hands on, because we were winning at the time. So obviously the mood shifted. And yeah, batteries, coins. So it was a point where, you know, both teams had to get off the court, have to go through the tunnel, go back to the locker room until everybody kind of settled down a little bit before going back. And then, yeah, there was another, I wasn't involved with it, but I was playing in Greece again, another road game. And one of my teammates got spat on. It was kind of wild. Yeah, it was, I'm good for him for not, you know, turning it into one of those Malice in the Palace situations. But yeah, man, you get fans that are so dedicated, man, to their team. They're so prideful that, you know, they get beside themselves and not, you know, they don't control themselves. And I don't like situations like that. I'm cool with, you know, you guys being rowdy. You say whatever you want to an extent. But, you know, just don't physically try to harm somebody. I think that's kind of where fans overstep. But yeah, those are just, you know, two little wild stories from for now that I'll say.
I mean, speak of that Malice at the Palace thing, I haven't watched the 30 for 30 or the documentary they did on it yet, but I'm willing to bet there's 25 stories like that in overseas basketball. There has to be.
It's probably too many to count.
Yeah.
I know for sure. Yeah, it's too many. It's too many.
I love hearing about that stuff. It makes me laugh every time. They're so crazy over. It's like, I mean, there's no really sport in the States that it's rowdy like that. Not to that level.
No, that's like not even football. Man. Like you talking about the most physical sports known, and it's like, come on, man. These people are willing to die for this. Man, it's like serious stuff.
I mean, it feels like you've kind of embraced that overseas basketball. I don't want to say identity, but that path in your career. Do you kind of favor that over playing in the States, or do you like playing in the States more?
You know, at the end of the day, if it was a situation that, you know, if it was like when I was playing, it was the D League, but now the G League. If they actually paid players more, I do feel like maybe a lot more would stay in the States. But overseas lifestyle for me is great because you're in another culture. You get to embrace, like, you know, different types of people that got different perspectives than you. And for me, whenever I'm overseas, I go out. I'm in museums. I'm at the restaurants. I'm taking walks. So I try to do the touristy things that allows me to embrace the culture even more. So it's tricky, man, because I'm an outgoing person, and when I'm overseas, like I say, when I get to see like I'm at the Coliseum and you see like this big monument, it's one of those situations where it's just like, damn, I want to go see more of the world.
Mm-hmm.
But from the perspective of what you're familiar with, that's why I think a lot of people would rather be in the States as opposed to overseas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I've only been to Canada. I went to Niagara Falls, but I feel like if I went overseas somewhere, people who do that and take that chance, they become addicted to that lifestyle and kind of like just embracing different cultures that they never dreamed that they would be able to see and experience.
Yeah, this is kind of stuff that, I grew up watching on TV, man. I'll watch some 007 movies and I'll be like, hey, over here in Casablanca, like, and shoot, I was just there. Like I was in Morocco, and then Morocco was about an hour, and I think it was an hour and a half drive to Casablanca. So I was there. Like,
yeah.
So it's like, that addiction is on wanting to be, more cultured is something that I think people should want to do for sure.
Mm-hmm. And I know we kind of went over time, so I'm sorry about that. But I just want to talk to you about obviously the other experience that you had this past year was representing Team USA in the America Cup qualifiers. I mean, what was that? What was that like to have Team USA across your chest? What was that feeling like?
I mean, one word is humbling, because I was this little scrawny kid from White Plains, New York that nobody knew about. I wasn't on any those top 100s, top 50, whatever players. I really got it out the dirt, man, and had to put myself in a situation to even be mentioned to be on a roster like that, let alone play. So for me, very humbling. And, I got a chance to compete with a great group of guys out there. And I took it as an opportunity to want to meet the guys like Isaiah Thomas, Joe Johnson. Like, these guys are NBA legends. Mm-hmm. And then just learn from them when I got there. And I think it helped me as a player, it helped me as a person. I'm very grateful for that opportunity that Team USA gave me. And I'm happy that we were able to handle business out there for those 2 games in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, most definitely business as usual for Team USA. I mean, you talked about Joe and Isaiah. I mean, did you pick their brain at all, or like try to talk to them to get advice that way, or did you like kind of watch them and observe them in their element, whether it's preparation, practice, game, whatever.
Not everything, So I vibed with IT just from a standpoint of just talking off the court, picking his brain up a little bit, on the court as well. I consider myself a combo guard. And the majority of my career, I played off the ball. Mm-hmm. So I was able to pick Joe Johnson's brain a little bit more in that regard. I consider myself a bigger guard, so I do like to post up. So he put me onto one little thing that I could do when I'm on offense that helped me tremendously. And I won't say it because I ain't trying to put nobody else. But for me, yeah, like it's like you take a guy like Joe Johnson and Isaiah Thomas. These guys are, to me, they're still NBA superstars, regardless of IT trying to get back into the league or whatever the case is. And the fact that they could come to a situation like Team USA with guys that either play overseas or played in the D League and not, big time them and not be like, oh, this and that, or don't talk to me or whatever the case is. It just puts into perspective that these guys are just great human beings, man. And again, I was very fortunate to be able to play alongside of them.
Yeah, I think great players like obviously Joe and Isaiah, I mean, they have to find that line of being confident, but also not shutting out like their teammates and things like that, especially if it's, I mean, you guys played 2 games together, right? So, yeah. I mean, they could, like you said, they could easily be like, don't talk to me, all that stuff. But they like made a concerted effort to kind of help all the rest of the guys that were there.
Yeah, man, just like real down to earth, like real down to earth. If it wasn't a situation where I watched the NBA, I wouldn't have known that they were in the NBA, if that like puts it into a better perspective, because they were just some hoopers that want to be good and want to be great. And, they were very professional as well.
Mm-hmm. And then what was the competition like over down in Puerto Rico against, I forget who you guys played.
We played Mexico and we played the Bahamas. I mean, we played the Bahamas first. Teams, whenever they're playing Team USA, they're always going to come out with a load of energy. And, for us, we were there for about 10 days. So we had a couple of practices under our belt before we were able to play. But I feel like we gelled pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. But practice and games, are obviously 2 different speeds. And I think once for us, getting the kinks out, either offensively, just in whatever the case is, it was easy for us to gel. So not taking anything away from the teams that we played against because they competed hard, but I just think that we were just dominant, man. We had guys that were committed to, getting the job done. And yeah, again, not to take anything away from those two teams, but like Team USA is Team USA.
Yeah, I mean, couldn't have said it better myself. But like I said, we kind of went over time, so I apologize for that. But I really appreciate you coming on. I'm looking forward to see where you play next year, and hopefully I can catch some games. But best of luck going forward, and stay safe.
Nah, for sure, man. Appreciate you, Dub. Holla at me.
Sure.
Yeah.